Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see you all here today. Well, last week we started on chapter 6 of the Guide to the Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva, the 8th century Indian Buddhist practitioner and scholar. And the title of this chapter is Patience, sometimes translated forbearance, from the Sanskrit word shanti. And we covered about half the chapter. And we've seen how patience is built on a foundation of awareness. And that it serves as a gateway to equanimity, taking a more balanced view. It creates the opportunity for a more spacious view of a situation, so that we can transform some afflictive emotions, such as anger, into more beneficial forms, such as compassion. And last week, the emphasis was on anger, and there's a little bit more about that, but also in this chapter, Shantideva goes through a variety of scenarios, which reveals his sensitivity to the number of afflictive states that can beset us, either grossly or subtly. So we'll go through a few more passages, and I'll make comments along the way. These passages of Shantideva are dense and rich, and I don't pretend to offer anywhere near a complete explanation of them. But I'm throwing out some views and inviting you to also contemplate them and think about what they might mean to you. Because all of this is about application in our daily life. So in stanza 62, Shantideva starts off this way. And if, when people slander us, we claim our anger is because they injure others, how is it that we do not resent their slander when it is aimed at someone else? And if we bear with antipathy because it's due to other factors, why are we impatient when they slander us? Defilement, after all, has been the cause of it. Even those who vilify and undermine the sacred doctrine, images, and stupas are not proper objects of our anger. Buddhas are themselves untouched thereby. And even if our teachers, relatives, and friends are now the object of aggression, all derives from factors, as we have explained. This we should perceive and curb our wrath. This is a little confusing. When he starts and says, if when people slander us, we claim our anger is because they injure others, according to commentaries, that's intended to mean that when people slander us, they injure our reputation, and people it makes us less effective in the world, and we can't do the task of the bodhisattva, which is to try to awaken for the benefit of all beings. So slander interferes with that task. And if we say that we're unhappy because of that or angry because of that, why is it that we do not become similarly angry when others are slandered? And then he goes on to talk about even those who vilify or undermine the sacred doctrine, images, and stupas. It brings to mind the situation in Afghanistan over a decade ago when the Taliban exploded these enormous Buddha figures that were carved into the side of caves in central Afghanistan in the region called Banyan. They removed them because they thought they were idols or some sort of thing. And these had been there. They were carved into the side of the caves in the 5th century CE, so they were antiquities. But the Thai Air Force didn't go and bomb mosques as a result. And even if our teachers, relatives, and friends, in other words, we might to some degree suffer abuse directed at us that we would not tolerate when it's directed at those who are close to us, our loved ones. But Shantideva is making the point here that the people inflicting the harm are not the problem. It's the hatred that drives them. And that is what we should try to dispel. That is what we should try to dispel. Some do evil things because of ignorance, he goes on. Some respond with anger, being ignorant. Which of them is faultless in such acts? To whom shall error be ascribed? Instead, why did they act in times gone by that they are now so harmed at others' hands? Since everything depends on karma, why should I be angry at such things? This I see, and therefore, come what may, I'll hold fast to the virtuous path and foster in the hearts of all an attitude of mutual love. All of this seems strangely topical as we witness not only things in our personal lives, but events in the world. Some do evil things because of ignorance. Some respond with anger, being ignorant. It brings to mind not only current events, but the scene in The Godfather where the Al Pacino character visits Sicily, and he's accompanied by a relative who is guiding him, and he notices that there are lots of women and children in the street, but no men, and he asks why, and he's told that it's related to the vendetta culture in Sicily, to the revenge killings that occur regularly. Perhaps not now, but at that time. So Shantideva's solution to this is to foster in the hearts of all an attitude of mutual love. And I think we can see individuals who manifest this. When praise is heaped upon your qualities, and then he's going into different sort of, again, scenarios where afflictive emotions arise. When praise is heaped upon your qualities, you're keen that others should be pleased thereby. But when the compliment is paid to others, you feel no inclination to rejoice. You who want the happiness of beings have wished to be enlightened for their sake. So why should others irk when they find some pleasure for themselves? And if you claim to wish that beings be enlightened, honored by the triple world, when petty marks of favor come their way, why are you so discomforted? So, of course, here he's referring to something that I think we can all recognize in ourselves from time to time, feelings of jealousy or envy, feelings of disquiet when other people achieve some sort of recognition, perhaps. Maybe you're immune to this, but I think some aren't. And a sort of the flip side of this, he discusses in this next section. If unhappiness befalls your enemies, why should this be cause for your rejoicing? The wishes of your mind alone will not, in fact, contrive that injury. And if your hostile wishes were to bring them harm, again, what cause of joy is that for you? Why then I would be satisfied. Why are these your thoughts? If anything more ruinous than that, caught upon the hook, unbearable and sharp, cast by the fisherman, my own defilements I'll be flung into the cauldrons of the pit, and surely boiled by all the janitors of hell. Veneration, praise, and fame serve not to increase merit or my span of life, bestowing neither health nor strength, and nothing for the body's ease. If I am wise in what is good for me, I'll ask what benefit these bring. For if it's entertainment I desire, I might as well resort to alcohol and cards. So another perhaps familiar affliction is that of what the Germans call Schadenfreude, um, suffering or experiencing pleasure at the misfortunes of one's enemies or competitors. In which, and then Shantideva goes on to refer to praise and fame as a hook, something that from which we derive little, if any, benefit. A bit farther on, the satisfaction that is mine from thinking I am being praised is unacceptable to common sense, and nothing but the antics of a silly child. Praise and compliment distract me, sapping my revulsion with samsara. I start to envy others their good qualities, and thus all excellence is ruined. Those who stay close by me then to damage my good name and cut me down to size are surely there protecting me from falling into realms of grief. For I am one who strives for freedom. I must not be caught by wealth and honors. How could I be angry with the ones who work to free me from my fetters? Well, this is sort of an entire inversion of um, the usual way that we view things. That actually those who praise are causing a problem for me, and those who criticize or damage my good name are actually serving the purpose of reinforcing my patience. Um, I think you can take all these things, literally if you like, but I think they serve as devices to help us take a step back, get a larger view in situations, not respond um, instantly in an habitual manner, but to think more deeply about what the situation is, to notice what's going on inside, to recognize the feelings that are arising, to pay attention to what's going on outside with the others around me, what may be motivating them, to allow a more skillful response. And sort of looking at things from the underside can be a helpful device in that regard. So towards the end of the chapter, so like a treasure found at home that I have gained without fatigue, my enemies are helpers in my bodhisattva work, and therefore they should be a joy to me, since I have grown in patience thanks to them. To them, its first fruits I should give, for of my patience they have been the cause. Other, I guess, remedies or devices that he proposes during this chapter have to do with considering others as myself and sort of taking the view of the other person, which he goes into in more detail in chapter 8. So we'll discuss that more at that time. So all of this involves being mindful of one's vow if one is to be a bodhisattva in the sense of striving for awakening so that one can be of benefit to all beings, not just oneself, not just others, but all beings. Which brings up a point about what patience is not. And I think it's perhaps important to make this because these situations do arise. Patience is not allowing oneself to sustain ongoing abuse from others. finding a remedy for that one way or another is appropriate. And continuing in that sort of situation can be viewed as a kind of personal exceptionalism, that it's, in a sense, okay for this person to be abusing me in such a manner, but I would never abuse another person in such a way. But even in situations like that, Shantideva is encouraging us not to respond out of anger, but to take a step back, see some of the causes and conditions surrounding the situation, and skillfully find a way to either correct or extricate oneself from such a scene. So the Chan teacher, Gogu, talks about the universal formula for dealing with situations, which he summarizes in 4 parts: face it, accept it, respond to it, and let it go. And in this case, the facing it would be recognizing one's internal state, recognizing the anger, the jealousy, the thirst for praise, recognizing whatever it is, facing it fully. And the accepting it would be to analyze, thinking about the whole situation internally and externally, inside and outside, to come up with a more skillful response, which is always possible. So I think we'll stop there. And I guess with the question, what situations um, in your life might trigger impatience, irritation, the whole realm of what we might refer to as lack of kshanti. And what tools, what devices, what skillful means have you found that help in dealing with those situations? So we'll stop and go into breakout rooms now. Thank you very much for listening today, and I invite your comments.